All
All right, y'all good.
right, man. So first and foremost, man, thank y'all for being here. You know, let me give a little introduction about myself and what we're going to talk about. So my name is Carlif Taylor. I go by Coach Leaf. Coach Taylor makes me feel old, so I really don't go by that name. But or the GOAT, But just to give you a quick background about myself, so I'm born and raised in Harlem, New York. Played D2 ball at Southern Connecticut. Spent some time in the league. Spent some time with the Giants. Spent some time with the Cowboys, and just really got into coaching. But I've been on every level. As soon as I was done with the league, I tried a year of arena football. Then I did some technical pass rush training, and then I got into coaching D3 ball at the University of Chicago, and now I'm here at East Illinois. So I got a good array of like working with athletes as high as this professional, as low as 7 years old. And so as we get into this art of the pass rush, a lot of this stuff is going to be unorthodox. And the reason why I say that is because the high school only played 1 year football, so I don't have the same X's and O's insight that a coach can teach you at a young age. So a lot of the things that I learned more so came from studying everything, studying the arts. I grew up boxing. I grew up doing martial arts, so I apply a lot of things. You can see I got Muhammad Ali in my background. Big fan of him, big fan of Mike Tyson, big fan of Bruce Lee, big fan of like conquerors in general. So pass rush to me is an art, and that's why I say it's the art of pass rush, because a lot of these things, the way I look at it is I look at it as an operation. So as we go through stuff today, it's going to be my system, and what's make this unique is that you won't see anything like this. This is my system completely. Not only is it just my system, but you'll be able to learn and pick up things. So you'll learn from a player standpoint. So this is good whether you're a player or a coach, because you'll be able to learn multiple different aspects of it, right? And so as you see in that bottom right corner, I call it rush ops, because just like a Navy SEAL team or SEAL Team 6 or any kind of thing of that nature, it's an operation within us. And as we get there, I'm going to start explaining that. All right, so this is my system right here. It's called the VGVP system. And so this is the beginning of my philosophy. And also, before I even continue, if anybody sees anything, feel free. If you have a question live on the spot, hit the chat, get off audio. I'm very much human. I love open interaction. I am going to save some time after this to answer any questions. But anytime you got a question or anything you want to add on to, feel free to like cut me off and say something, just because like I'm very much a human in that aspect and I like dialogue. So this is my system, the VGVP system. So you have vision, get off, balance, and pad level. These are the four most important components within being able to excellent pass rushers. So when I say vision, it's really precision. So me playing in the league, like I said, I was a D2 player. I'm 6'2" on the internet, but I'm really 6'1" in real life. Um, so you have to be extremely technical. So one thing that helped me is that I had to be way more technical than the average person who's 6'3", 6'4", that's average in my position. So part of that is precision. So the trench game, the trench warfare is all about really stability and center of gravity, right? So I know if I'm not stronger or taller than this guy, it's two things that's going to put me in that situation. That's being violent in a precise location, and you could win that battle. So when I talk about vision, that's having a keen sense of awareness when the pass set is unfolding before you. So football on the line is all about visual keys and pressure keys, right? So that vision is really being able to process. Sometimes if your interior lineman, it's a half a step. Sometimes your defensive end, it's 2 steps. Being able to process that information and then play with instincts. And that's why it takes reps at this. So that's why with that vision and precision, it's knowing your pressure points, knowing where you got to get to. And we'll talk about that a little more. But that's what it takes before anything in order to, especially if you're an undersized guy, for pass rush standpoint. The next thing is get off, right? So get off is a little self-explanatory, but everything you do, whether you're a player, whether you're a coach, you should be great in ball get off, BGO, ball get off. Everything starts with get off, right? So even when you do drills, especially if it's drills that's live within the 3-point stance and you're not teaching it, always try to have some type of movement to initiate to initiate any kind of drill you're doing. The next thing is violence. So we talked about violence already, right? So violence to me is controlled aggression. So some of these videos and clips we'll see later, I'll talk about keeping everything inside your frame. So I'll talk about D-line being three things, right? If you're a good pass rusher or a good D-lineman in general, it's like being a boxer, a receiver or a DB or a basketball player. And one thing basketball players do well is when they do crossovers, everything's within that frame, right? You don't want to be too outside the frame because then you lose power and then you lose like your center of gravity and your stability. So I like violence, which is controlled aggression within your frame, right? You should be able to take 2 hard steps and be able to hold that, right? And so then last but not least is pad level, right? The lower man wins. And once when you're lower, you're able to generate more power. And I call it vertical leverage with your hands. So I like my hands above my eyes anytime we strike. If I'm moving too fast, let me know. All right, so trying to simplify things, right? Cracking the code. So I done train guys, NFL, like I said, high school, D3, D2, whole, the whole entendre, right? So the biggest thing when you talk about cracking the code, right? Simplify it. You're gonna have to teach every single pass rush. You're gonna have to teach all the bases of the pass rush move, right? Especially if you're dealing with a new D line or somebody that you or somebody a team that you're not used to, right? You want to go through it all and then and find a niche. But to simplify it, right? Once when you do that, have 2 go-to moves and a counter move, right? Your go-to move for me, like my first move that I'm teaching everybody off day one is bull rush long. Bull rush for my interior guys, long arm for the guys that's on the edge, right? And the long arm could be a 2-to-1 long arm, whatever the case may be. The second move would be like the move that they're naturally, innately good at, right? So I call that your specialty move, right? Your fastball. And then the third move is going to be the counter. Now, within pass rush, each of these moves will naturally have a counter. So when you teach 3 moves, essentially you're teaching 9, but you want to simplify it as much because if you got guys doing anything and everything, then you kind of don't gain enough within pass rush because pass rush is not it's a small part but a big part of the game. So being able to simplify that. So the first thing for me is 2 go-to moves, right? Which are your primary techniques to rush the passer, right? And then once again, right? So when you're teaching this or if you're learning it, right, the biggest thing, and one of the things that I learned because I was a teacher as well, is that you always want to talk in threes and fives. Threes and fives. For some reason, it naturally resonates with the brain, it stays with the brain more. So it's only 3 main reasons if you lose the pass rush. The first is not getting a good jump, right? So we talk about BGO. So BGO is something that we grade here on everything. The second thing is not having a proper stance, right? So you should have, I mean, at the very least, you should have 2 stances. At higher levels, you may need to have a 3 stance. You may have to have an honest stance, which is more balanced, a power stance for run, and a jet stance for pass rush, right? So having that weight forward where you're not taking a false step. Yeah, your heel is not too high if you're in a 2-point stance, so you don't have to snap the heel or push off, right? Then the last one is executing a move too soon. So when we talk about that vision, that precision, right? Don't just go out there running, throwing moves because you got a move in mind, right? But back to what I was saying with my trainer, right? Be like Bruce Lee. Take the path of least resistance. Be like water. If you pour water onto the ground, it's always going to flow in the path of least resistance. So it's the same thing. As you're rushing, right? You're going to dictate what you want, but you're still going to have to react to what you get. Right. So once again, we talk about simplifying. This is something that we do here. So I pretty much put every single category of pass rusher moves out here for these guys to look at, right? And then I tell them to naturally star something that you think that you're naturally good at, and that's something that we work with. And so today I can say, hey, we're going to work on power and closes. We're going to work on openers, primaries to close. We're going to go power to primary to close, So you have your primary moves, which is your chop, club, swipe, stab. These are moves that you're going to have to teach guys. No matter if, like I said, you're always going to have your go-to move, but these are moves that you're going to have to teach guys just off the sake of integrity of the game and integrity of pass rush, right? You have your closes, rip, spin, or swim, I would save spin for anybody that's for more of a advanced level. The rip and the swim is what I like to live by. You have your opening, stutter, hesitation, and ghost. That applies to from 9 all the way to 0 tech. Then you have your power moves, right? So these are just ways to simplify it. Because like I said, you always got to train. And when you teach, you have to act like you know nothing. Even as a player, I remember my first practice on the Giants, the first thing we did was 3-point stances, So you got to have an utmost integrity and love for the game that you're not big enough or your ego is not big enough that you can't learn it all over again just because it's a new season, right? So we talked about this earlier in my introduction. So we're talking about rush hops, right? So you'll see guys say sack chasers. You'll see guys say rushmen. To me, it's rush operations. And the reason why I say rush operations because, like I said, I'm thinking of us as snipers, a SEAL team, one of the guys that come out the helicopters and really do work. You know what I'm saying? The reason why it's an operation, not a sack chase, because in reality, you're going to get a chance to rush the passer about 17 to 20% of the game, right? Each time that happens, you're going to be in a different situation. So if you're chasing a sack, that doesn't necessarily equivalent to you changing the game. Right now, the sack does add value, but it's way more to it, right? So when I'm talking about mastering the moment. So when you see this, it's like understanding the situation, right? A pass set in the middle of the field is going to look different from a pass set in the red zone. Pass set in the red zone is going to look different when their back is to the end zone. You get what I'm saying? So understanding what the down is, first, second, and third down. It's a 2 minute, right? Being cognizant of natural gap. So even if you're a player or a coach, I'm talking about natural gap exchanges, right? We're gonna talk about pass rush lanes in a bit here, but knowing as a D line coach or as a D line player, naturally, it's inevitable that sometimes if a person has a two-way go, they may go inside. You don't want to end up in the same lane as that guy. So understand as a D line coach, because your DC may be upset or whatever the case may be, that gap exchange happens naturally. So when you are teaching it, or if you're learning it, right? Even if you're a player and you're teaching your player, or if you're a coach teaching your players, right? Understand natural gap exchanges and where that happens and where you need to be, right? And then once again, just talking about more scenarios, third and medium, third and short. Think quick game, right? Quick sets, right? And this is why I'm saying don't necessarily always, of course, the goal is the sack, but it's so much more to rush ops than just the sack, right? Thinking quick game. I'm not telling guys to work the same moves if it's a third and long, if I know they're throwing quick game. Now I'm going to teach moves that's going to get us some type of get some type of condensing of the pocket as well as work in the mirror here, right? Causes some type of disruption, right? Because to me, as you see that in the green letters, consistent pressure impacts the game more than the sack, right? You want to take pride in creating chaos in that pocket, right? You have to understand the quarterback job is a lot. He got guys coming at him all the time. He's trying to figure out where he's making his reads. He has to be able to read coverages, things of that nature. The best thing you can do for him is make chaos every time he has to throw the ball because now his mind is processing a little slow. So creating chaos in that pocket by consistent pressures, right? And knowing when to do it, right? So this is just the fundamentals. So this is something that you just need to look at and understand. And we'll watch some NFL clips. We'll watch a little bit of clips of spring practice of what we did, right? But always down and distance. That's the most important thing. Chip alerts, right? Chip alerts from the tailback, chip alerts from the tight end, right? What is the protection anticipation? So at the collegiate level, especially, I think it's super important that guys understand like the protection anticipation. Where's the slide coming to, right? Because that matters within our rush, right? Having a plan based on all of these reads, right? BGO, ball get off, right? When I say so I have a little story. So when I first got to the Giants, and this happened to both on Giants and Dallas. So I'm gonna shout both of these guys. I was Bobby Hart. He was the 7th round draft pick for the from Florida State. He was there when Jameis Winston won. And then next guy on Dallas was Lyle Collins, right? And we were doing walkthroughs. And one thing I noticed is so even when we did walkthroughs, he would breathe super over exaggerate. His eyes would be bigger than what his eyes would be here, like super, super animated. Now in my head, I'm like, damn, why is he so animated? And so I started doing some research on eyes, right? And so like I said, I grew up in Harlem, man. So I seen some things, and you ever been through some type of like traumatic experience or anything that any type of traumatic event, when you process things, right, you start to see things super slow and you're able to process faster. If you're able to process in mere seconds a full level of thoughts. And so what that means is so when I did some research on it, I found out that your eyes work like cameras. So they work in frames per second, right? So the more dilated your pupils are, the more information you can process. So when I say big eyes, slow the game down, I'm telling guys, when we work through drills, I want your pupils dilated, right? And that's not meaning hyper focus, because if you're hyper focused on something, you naturally react slower, but use your peripherals to pick up on things. But I like our eyes dilated. So big eyes, right? So total quarterback. So we'll talk about this within our pass rush lanes, but when we're working a move, and as we work through that move and we're finishing that move, whether it's a swipe and our hands is coming back to where they need to be, toe to the quarterback. Wherever we're going, we have to be marching toes to the quarterback, right? Relentless finish. As you'll see, like I said, don't be in love with just chasing the sack, right? Relentless finish. You may fail 3 times. You may fall, get on the ground, get back up, and the play is still going on. So being relentless until you finish, right? Like I said, for me, I always teach the ball to long arm or ball to power pop for my interior guys, and just understanding sacks and games. Sacks are equivalent to about 3 points for the defense. So every time you get one, you gotta take advantage of it. Right. So we talk about ball get off. So I mentioned this before, so I'm not going to stay on this too long, right? But even when you're training, whether you're by yourself as a player, whether you're a coach, biggest thing is to incorporate shooting out of the hips, out your track block stance, and always try to use a football, like your foot, your ball, or some type of twitch from your own movement, right? we talk about odds, what do you can, right? So you're gonna see different opinions. This is just my opinion right now. Like I said, if you have your own opinion, that is perfectly fine. But for me, I key the knee or the heel. The reason why is because you pay attention to these big bodies right here, right? You're gonna hear people say hit the hip. You're gonna hear people say elbow. You're gonna hear people say screw the helmet, via the neck, the buttons, shoulder tip. The reason why I say the knee or the heel is because a body that big, in order for it to gain ground, whether it's coming at you or kick sliding away from you, it's going to have to low from the knees. It's going to have to push off the heel. These are going to be the things that your peripheral view is going to be able to match and anticipate the movement, because all linemen are taught to be still, right? So they're going to be still until they're not. So keying these things, those are going to be the slight movements that's going to allow you to get out of your stance and get out of your blocks quicker than normal, right? So being able, and this is when I'm talking about your vision and precision, right? Being able to visualize that, and within, if you're interior lineman, you may have a half a step or a step. Then identify the pass set. If you're in, you may have a step to 2 steps. Identify your pass set, and we'll get into that, right? So now I just want to talk about stances. So what we do here is we run a 4-2-5. We have two different defensive ends. One is a buck, which is a 2-point stance. The other one is a field end. He's in a 3-point stance, traditional guy. So I just wanted to go over both just in case whether it was coaches or players here that just never had a true introduction of how to get into a stance, right? So this is no different from being just a defensive receiver, right? So I call it a 100-yard dash start, right? So pay attention to this whole stance right here. So you want to be hit with a part. So when I'm talking about being able to engage all your power, right? If you're outside your hips, it's like jumping off a tip ball for basketball. I can't be outside of my hips if I'm trying to get the ball off a tip ball, right? I want to be keep my legs within my hips, right? Loaded hips, ankles, and off arms. So as you can see right now, he can push off of both feet right now, but you want that front foot to be more of an anchor, right? You want that front foot to act like if it was a stake in the ground and you had no means of moving it, right? So I call that just having proper shin angles, right? So having a proper shin angle is 30 degrees where your knees is over the toe. And you want to push off that back foot and then roll over that front toe. So get to triple extension, right? So just stands for a 3 for guys in the 3-point stance. This is going to be slightly different, right? So the only few things that may be different from what guys may teach is that I like our thumb and our elbow extended out. Usually when the 3-point stance, our thumb is pointed towards back to us, back to our legs. I like our thumb pointing out, representing very similar to track running when they get into that stance, right? The reason that I like that is because this will allow your arms to get up and out as soon as possible, as well as having your thumb out. Now you're able to grab more ground and reach out to get to that triple extension, right? So thumbs turned out, feet within the frame. Once again, as you can see, he's in that track block. That front leg has to be stout when you push off that. Right. So now we're going to talk about set types and what you may get. Right. So horizontal set, right? So some people may call that 45. I call it either or. So when I say 40, when I say horizontal, just think 45, right? Don't want to confuse anybody. You have your overset, you have your vertical low, you have your vertical high. And so these may be new to some people, vertical low, vertical high, and a soft set or a shoe set, but it's all about this right here at the bottom, creating that triple threat position. And the triple threat position is back to that 45-degree set where you have outside power or counter. Right. So now we're going to talk about pass rush angles, right? So now, like I said, the 12 was representing Tom Brady, right? The GOAT. But now he done snap the ball, shoulders to turn. So that's what that 12 was looking like. It's not right here with his chest pre-snap, but he got the snap. Now his shoulders are turned, right? So the ends, both edge players are high cage players, right? You cannot get above that quarterback. You cannot get above the quarterback in your pass rush, right? Both of these guys are aiming points are the throwing shoulder, so that rear shoulder. So if I'm right here as a quarterback, I like to split the jersey in two. This is the front jersey, this is the back jersey. So if we look at that B, right, that buck end, he's responsible for the front shoulder. So that number 2, he's responsible for the front jersey, rear throwing shoulder. That end, he's responsible for the back of that jersey, number 2 of that number 2 of the rear shoulder. The tackles are usually going to get a two-way go. He's going to be responsible for that front number, front shoulder. So that'll be right here. And that nose is going to be responsible for the opposite side of that front shoulder, back side of the numbers, right? So the low cage, right? You must stay low on your side of the quarterback front hit. Aiming point is the front side of the numbers, right? So just coaching points here, trying to simplify it in 3s and 5. Always rush half the man, right? If you want to over exaggerate, sometimes I say a third of the man. It takes 4 people doing their job to be in the rush operation. The next thing is when to get off, right? Next, fourth is have a plan and adapt, and the last but not least is be relentless within this, right? So as we talk about this, I want to talk about set points. So everybody knows about set points, right? So winning the set point battle allows your pass rush to control the engagement by setting the tone for the game, right? So this is when I talk about the art of war. Psychologically, if you're beating guys with speed, if you're getting the way you got to get to consistently, right? It affects the O-lineman, it affects the quarterback, right? You may get this, like I said, we're in the game. You may get the offensive line coach or offensive coordinator or the head coach. Now they're bickering with the quarterback. The quarterback's bickering with that, right? So this is a game of warfare. You have 60 minutes to create chaos. That's on the field, that's off the field, that's on the sideline, that's halftime. Every second count, every play count. So consistently getting to your spot psychologically impacts the offensive line, making them hesitant or super aggressive within their blocking assignments, right? So that's winning the get off. So for both ends, I'm saying you have 4 yards to rip and run. After 4 yards, everything has to cut into that V angle like the PowerPoint above it. For my interior guys, it doesn't, I don't care what set they get. They have to get 2 yards deep in that backfield before they fall off and make it to that play, right? Because like I said, for me, for what we do over here, we grade ball get off, but we also grade pressures, right? So both ends get points if you can get the quarterback to hitch up. That means you got to that means you got to your quarterback angles. The noses, their job is to get the quarterback to flush out. So either way it goes, everybody's doing their job. The sack is going to come to you. You don't have to chase and run down the sack. Chase and run down the sack means you got a good athletic D lineman, but you're not doing what you need to do as the rush operation, right? So now we're talking about interior lineman rules. So I call this the square principle, right? So the goal as an interior rush is to get the guard outside of his square, right? So you can do that with your alignment, counter, get off, or power moves, right? Knowing your personnel. So once again, you can train all the rush moves you want, but if you do not study film and study the guys you're going up against, you're going to put yourself at a great disadvantage, right? So when I say square principles, right? So I always put an imaginary square where the offensive lineman is. And if you see that yellow highlight, like I said, we only work halves. So I know his number is 68, but if I'm a 3 technique right now, all I'm focusing is on that 8. All I'm focusing is on that 8 when I rush. And I know that he has a square, so you have a square, and everybody, so he has a square, you have a square. And the job is to attack the open square space. So as you see right here, this is a live picture of what a square principle will look like for the interior guys, right? So as you notice, let me get my mouse going now. In the zone now. So as you notice, right? This is this guy, he aligned up wide, right? So this is what we're talking about. Align to execute. You dictate your rush. So what I mean by that is that I'm telling him what I want from him. And then I'm gonna respond to whatever he gives me. So if I'm lining up wide right now, I'm telling him, hey, I want you out here, kid. I want to dance right here. Let's dance right here, right? Let's go to the Waffle House and dance right here. If I'm lining up tight, then I know he makes short steps. So I'm thinking maybe I need to power through this guy. You get what I'm saying? So what I say through this is, right? So you dictate your rush, align to execute whatever you're trying to do, right? So for my 3 techniques, I say win or end, right? So you have to win right now. And if you don't win now, you go in. You get what I'm saying? So this job, the job for the nose tackle, he's more of a punch to cover. So he's going to punch, get his 2 yards out, and you may get a natural gap exchange here. You may get a natural gap exchange here, but he knows as he condenses in his pocket, he may have to cover for this guy, or he may have to cover for that, or whatever the case may be, right? So he's really primarily a power rush guy. He's a power move guy, and if he does get open, or if he does in a situation with a one-on-one, he can win, and of course, then they need him to win. But right now, like I said, we're only focusing on halves, right? He has less space than this guy on his square, but you want to attack the open square, always attack in halves. And the goal is to condense the pocket and refuse to be washed out. Remember, I treat this as out of bounds for this guy. If he rushes right now and makes contact here and gets too wide, then he's outside of his square. Then he made a big mistake. And he put this guy in a tough situation. Same thing with this guy, right? We don't need this guy outside of this space. He needs to be operating through here. Right? So now I'm just talking about, this is more so for our coach. So I'm just talking about 3-man rushes, right? Same principles apply, right? So he's responsible for this side of the shoulder, front side. This guy would be responsible for this side of the backside shoulder. And now he's keying his front hip. He's going wherever that hip goes, right? Just wanted to go over all of these bases. 5-man rushes look a little different. So now he's a contained player. He's a contained player. He's going to have a 2-way go. So depending on his set, square principles, he may have an inside release. He may have an inside release. Most coaches, most coordinators, usually the fifth guy is a punch and cover guy, so he may punch and be the spy. What I like preferably is him to just condense the pocket, and now he covers whoever goes inside. You know what I'm saying? Whoever goes inside from the 3-tech, he covers and goes inside. Right? So now let's get into the sets again. So we talk about vertical low and vertical high. So vertical low right here, right? So now this is the D lineman, right? This is the D lineman right here. Vertical low is when your body is typically is when the O lineman body is typically higher than yours and he's upfield, right? So in this case, right? So big alert for screen in this situation. But if this happens, you want to win underneath. You want to win underneath. A vertical high look right here, right? This is the D lineman right here, right? This is when the O lineman is high to your body. This is when you want to think counter inside, right? You want to counter club, counter hump, right? When I say stop the brakes, that's meaning step right here, drop your leverage, do some type of move inside. So that could be a spin, hump, counter, whatever the case may be, right? So it's very important when we talk about being able to read the shoulders, which we'll get into the next couple of slides, is that being able to anticipate what you get right now within your set. This is going to tell you, like I said, my Bruce Lee, being like water, being able to dictate what move you want and what you're trying to do. So this is what I'm talking about, right? So recognize, so being able to read shoulders, right? So as we go left to right, he got square shoulders. He's trying to overset me. This is like an overset or a shoe set. Now I'm aiming for this inside 5 right here, and I'm countering back, right? This is the situation we want to be. This is that triple threat position, right? This is where you get that fastball, your best move, your special move, right? You want to go, for us, that'll be a bull rush to long arm or anything of that nature, 45 degrees. That's what we want to see right here. We get perpendicular shoulders, right? So these are horizontal shoulders, right? Right? We get perpendicular shoulders. We're thinking speed to power right now. We're taking a big V angle right into the quarterback. Right? So once again, after all that information right now, this is how you simplify it, right? Protect the inside number. Whether you're a guard, whether you're a nose tackle, whether you're a D tackle, whether you're in, it's all about protecting the inside number. If you're able to rush and protect your inside number, your inside number, your inside pad, and keep your feet active to where you got to get to, then you're already automatically in a good spot, right? So right here, this is just 2 examples, right? Active inside hand, right? So you see Michael Parsons right here, his hand is up, covering the surface area. You can't strike this right here. I can always work a move out of that, right? Protecting the inside hand or reducing your surface area over here, right? With that ghost technique, right? So take away the inside shoulder by ghosting or keeping that inside hand, that near number protected, right? And I just want to go over a few things right here. So as we watch this right here, this is me in spring, man. Look at this handsome guy right here, right? No doubt. But pay attention to this guy right here. This is Peyton Wilkinson. He's a redshirt freshman. We're talking about being able to protect that inside number, right? First thing I look at is get off, right? So I love the fact that he's still trying to find his situation where he's loading up without rocking back, but I like that he's not taking a false step. Protecting that inside number, right? Protecting that inside number by ghosting it. So one thing I like, he stays on his track, right? Does enough with this inside hand, right here to get this guy to shoot. And once when you flash your hand, understand this, that lineman feet are going to stop. They're going to stop for contact. They're not going to move and punch because there's no power when they do that. But now you reduce that surface area aggressively, right? And notice when he does that, where his feet are aligned to. So one thing I like about this clip right here is that when he throws that strike, he doesn't have to go all the way outside because we're working halves. We're working halves right here. So now, only thing I could, like I said, I'm a coach to the T. One thing I like better right now is when he runs that ghost move, he needs to drive aggressive with that knee. See how he's stumbling and running that loop? He'll get there, of course. But being able to protect that inside number, get to that rush. Simplified as that, right? Pardon me. Let me get back to that next video. So now we're going to focus on one of our seniors right here, Jerron Hatcher, right? So biggest thing for him is, right, he's a shorter guy, shorter than me, right? He's a 5'11", 5'10" guy, right? So now, right, we're talking about square principles. He has a solid square right here. And he also knows this guy's a square, and he's also reading this right here, right? So he wants to stay on his square, attack that square. First read, right? He's not trying to do nothing. He's still vertical down the line. But I know I have to protect my square. We talk about that jab step, right? That jab step is still half the man. Boom. Now I want to protect my inside number. Protect my inside number. One thing I like that his foot is still climbing right now. He's still climbing right now. So I was talking about your feet always have to be active. Protect that inside number, drive through. So attack open squares. Even as an interior lineman, that's what you get, right? He's setting vertical. He's getting off. Protect that inside number. Get skinny on that surface. One thing I like about Hosh really is that his hands are active, right? He could have been done right here, but being relentless in the pass rush, throwing that extra move for security goes a long way. So this is just drills when I talk about that Euro step, right? So as you see, even when I'm drilling things, I like to drill the steps first, then I put them in motion. So the first drill right here, they're literally just stepping, maintaining that half right here, right? So this is good right here by 41. This is good right here by 50. This is too much right here by 90. As you can see, his helmet is across. This is decent, but still too much right here at 94. You can see his head is across, right? Then they're going to step out. And notice when you step out, right, similar to what 41 is doing, he has a lot of space right now, right? He's able to get out there. If you look at the shadow, he's the only one outside of that shadow ring right here, right? Same thing. Now, when you finish in tight to the bag, pay attention to number 50 right here, extending that arm, getting that hand out, right? Could be a mirror hand, could be anything. Could be punching that ball out, or being able to take that proper step. One more time through. Now, this is a regular motion, right? All of this is really at a jog tempo right now. Just getting used to the steps, tight to the finish. Used to the steps, tight to the finish. So really good job by 50 right here, staying tight to this bag. Tight to this bag. So one thing I like to tell these guys, when you work that move, right, this is where basketball comes in, right? Basketball, boxer, receiver, DB, right? I want your shoulders going this way. His eyes are still vertical. You get what I'm saying? So this right here is going to freeze. This is going to put a lot of mental weight on this guy outside leg. So if he's kicking back, he's staying stout right now on this leg right now. And then now I'm ghosting. Now I'm ghosting and I'm getting tight around that corner. Big toe turn. Big toe turn. Let's watch a few reps right here. There we go. Finishing tight, keeping that hand high, keeping that hand high. These are two of my senior players right now. They were hurt. Guy to the left, number 6. He's an all-conference D in here. Pay attention to his toe drag. Talk about being received. You see toe drags when they come out, they cuts, right? Nice tight finish. He just needs to loop around that cone. Right? So now what it looks like, right? Pay attention to this left end right here. Pay attention to this guy right here. Jab step inside. Right? So what that does, when you throw that jab, he's committed now. He's committed. His weight is going out here. He can't come back inside, right? His inside number is protected by that hand right here. His outside hand is up right now, right? Level 3,000. What could he do better, right? Like I said, he's still a redshirt freshman. Now, when he's coming back inside, he needs to throw that chop down right now. He lets this guy have a hold of him, right? And at the higher levels, right? Because we play Illinois week 1, right? Higher levels, you gotta be relentless with your finish. So he could be better with his finish right here. In regards to that jab step, that's what it should look like. Vertical, vertical, vertical until it's not. Jab, get him to commit. Be skinny on your finish. All right, so now let's talk about shoe sets, right? So shoe sets is like one of those third and medium quick game passes, right? So that's when the O-lineman doesn't drop, but instead he mirrors your foot with a shallow step, right? Just being able to talk about shoe steps. Kryptonite to this is always power moves. Get them moving. So now we want to talk to my DNs real quick. Horizontal lines, right? So anytime you're lined up, imagine this line going straight. When he sets that line, you have a marker for 4 yards. So this would be your marker right here. If he passes that, right? So opposite of square principle, he passes that line and end up in a situation to like this on the right. Your motion is here. Your motion is here. If he's still setting vertical and you got to move right now, your job is to work that move, finish back on the line, then get to where you got to get to. You don't want to rush too far inside and create a scene where that quarterback can bubble out, right? Always getting back to your horizontal line. So now we're going to talk slide pro, right? So understanding this as a player and as a coach, right? The running back side is usually be the man side, right? So we call this the short side, the big on big side right here, whatever you want to call it. This is the scan side, right? Man and scan, right? So the center and guard and tackle work together. So, right, so as a coach, twist and game should be based on his protection. So understanding protection, once again, it's always going to differ depending on who you're going up against. Right? Full slide pro. It's just a 5-man slide. And now right here in this situation, in the middle, we call this a CC scan, cross-country scan, right? When he crosses the runner, when he crosses the quarterback and he's protecting on the outside end, same thing right here, right? So that's when they slide to the right and defender is picked up by the back. Outside defenders picked up by the back. So now we're going to watch some NFL tape real quick, going over everything. So as I'm going through this, right, whether you're still learning this or not, I want you to think about the process and think about pass rush angles, things about rush lanes, things of that nature, right? And I'm gonna talk through it. So we talk about chip alerts, right? So we got a tight end on the ball. We got a running back right here, right? We just talked about slide pro, right? So we usually get the man side right here. So we're guessing, right? Because all of this is IQ. All of this is just pre-snap indicators to put us in the best position. So we're assuming slide going this way. Is he giving the chip alert, right? If I'm an end right here, I'm gonna say no. Why? Because his eyes are right here on this backer. His eyes, his demeanor is selling this right here, right? Also, same thing, right? Pay attention to this running back alignment as we keep watching these clips, right? He's wide right now, so I know he's not necessarily getting the ball, but we have a call, we call a child call, is when this guy foot, when the running back foot mirrors this tackle foot, we know for a fact he may not be chipping, he may be flaring out, right? So we know our angles. He's responsible for the rear shoulder. He's responsible for the rear shoulder. He's responsible for the front shoulder. He's responsible for the front shoulder, right? So we get a chip from the right end, right? Boom. So we're getting that man side on the right. We're getting that scan side, to our right and to our left, we're getting that scan side, right? So now you get a scan as a 3-tech, 98 is doing exactly what he's supposed to do. You get that, right? Win on end. Slide to you, win that A gap. Win through that A gap right now, right? The right end right now he's in the best up position because he's getting chipped. But one thing about it is that he's still trying to press the pocket, right? We looked at that tight end on the left, that left end, right? That left end. Like I said, he's not even giving me eyes. He's looking at the backer, right? So now I have a wide rush. I got to work power right now. I got to start condensing this gap, right? Luckily, we got 95 right here. He's condensing that pocket like we was talking about, 2 yards deep, work a move off, able to get the sack. That's what it should look like from a nose. Condense that pocket for 2 yards, work that move off, make the play. All right, so let's talk through it again, right? Boom, all right. Tight end slides, right? He's on the surface. Cam Jordan alignment changes, right? So now, right, this is what we call a child call. Bear with me, I'm on the mouse, right? So this stands for cheated outside wide. We see this running back right here. We know he's not doing any kind of mesh charging. We're anticipating him to flare out or have some type of check down, right? So this is a child call. Once again, tail back to this side. We're expecting slide here, scan here, right? This side is going to have the one-on-ones. This side is going to have the one-on-ones. So we pay attention to this rush, right? Starting off with that right end, right? So boom, you see that running back flares out, right? Notice the subtle differences. This is something that players need to know more than coaches because they're the ones on the field, right? So now I got to convert this into power. So the right defensive end, our right defensive end right now is doing exactly what he's supposed to do. Convert that into power right now. He's getting perpendicular shoulders. Boom. Perpendicular shoulder speed to power. Compress that gap. Especially since we know we're going through number 8. One of the fastest guys in the pocket in the league right now, right? Nose is doing exactly what he needs to do. He's on the big side, right? He has to be punching right now, condensing, right? Finding a way off the block right now. This guy hips is extended. He has no leverage with his feet. I need to work a way off, right? Same thing with that 3-tech. We get slide 2. I need to start pursuing through that A gap, right? 93 does a really good job right here, not over pursuing, right? This looks scrumptious right here. This looks like a good thing to do, but he has high IQ. He knows he needs to fight through that A gap right now. Punch through that A gap. Good, right? Our biggest mistake, right? Hell of a player, Cam Jordan right here, right? So boom, as we look at this surface, right? Now his eyes, his demeanor is selling chip right now, right? He's not necessarily overly focused on anything, but he's selling chip right now, right? We do get a little chip. Well, he's trying to work a release. We do get a little chip. But right now in this situation, it's too much space right now for this guy right here. What we need to be doing right now, if I'm Cam, squeezing the pocket right now. We got to compress this gap. We're giving number 8 too much space right now. And that's what happens. That's what happens right now. Too much space. So 93 does a good job. And when I say it takes 4, that's for that reason why it takes 4. All right, so now we got an overloaded side. Overloaded to our left right now, to our left. Same thing with this alignment, right? So his foot is aligned up with that. So we got a chow, chow, chow call right now. We got a chow, chow, chow. I'm expecting this guy to flare out. Once again, running backs are naturally scanning for the outside threat. So it could be a threat here, or a threat somewhere on the far side of the field. He flares out immediately. Really good job by this 3 tech, right? Win on end, right? He wins through that. He wins through his gap immediately. Went through his gap immediately. All by protecting his inside number, right? He has that outside hand on that hand right now, and he's throwing the rip to clear that inside number out right now. Now we're going to focus on this right side right here, right? This right here, speed to power. Perpendicular shoulder, speed to power right now. We talk about natural gap exchanges, right? So pay attention to this guy right here and this guy movement right here. He works that power move. This guy knows I have to cover his ass right now. But that means I have to win and be right here because this is my angle. Now the angle changes naturally. Natural gap exchanges. Probably wasn't intentional, but we have to know as defensive linemen and as D-line coaches that this may happen, but our guys have to be cognizant of where we're ending up at. All right, so let's talk about it, right? So no child call right now. This is not this, and it's subtle, But now I'm anticipating. Okay, I may get chipped by this guy right now. He ain't cheated outside wide. Okay, I'm looking at this tight end. He's on the ball. Once again, look at his eyes. His eyes are inside. So I'm not thinking the chip alert right here. Let's see what it plays out. Boom. Tight end goes away. Now I'm into my rush. Proper rush right now. We get perpendicular shoulders, right? I got my long arm going. I need to keep pressing, keep pressing, keep pressing. Let's pay attention to this nose tackle right here. I'm getting slide to me. I'm getting slide to me right now. I want a two-way go. I want to cross back inside naturally, right? This guy slants. This is where natural gap exchanges happen, right? So for men players, guys that have good chemistry, this should be going on right now, right? Paying attention to this left end. That chip alert is alive. Boom. He's trying to get chipped. But what does he do? He's reading the shoulders very well. Perpendicular shoulder. That's 45 shoulders right there, right? We need to work our fastball, right? Our fastball could be our long arm, our ball rush. He compresses that pocket so much, gets the sack. Perfect play. All right, now we're in a different situation right here, right? So boom, this alignment right here, I'm thinking chow, chow, chow. I may get chipped, right? I may get chipped. This tight end is on the ball. I'm watching for subtle movements. Okay, his head just turned right now. He's looking at me and then he's looking away. He's looking at me and he's looking away. I'm thinking, all right, no chip alert on this guy. No chip alert on this guy. Boom. He goes away. Now you get the advantage because you can win with speed right now. You can win with speed right now. This right here, vertical low, vertical high, vertical high. That means, like I said, vertical high, you want to win inside right now. So he should be punching with that outside hand just to give himself a little more leverage. He gets pushed out. He gets a little too wide. Look at this guy right here. They get a little slide action right here. Pressing through the pocket, right? Trying your best not to get washed. Pushing through that pocket. So that means these guys over here have to win. You're man on man, right? Tailback side is man on man. This guy right here, he gets too wide. We talk about natural gap exchanges. This is going to happen. This is football, right? He gets too wide within his square principles. This guy takes his read. He getting 45 degrees. We want to work our fastball. I know I need to get here. And now I need to climb over here, right? Because now my angles are exchanging. Good job by this guy saving the rush. Right? So now we're talking about shoulder reads right now, right? Boom. His field line, I'm giving a chow, chow, chow call. I want to pay attention to Michael Parsons right here, right? Talking about shoulder reads, right? He strikes. Good long arm, right? Right here, this is vertical low. This guy's still set within him. Look at the 3-tech, 99. They're getting a natural gap exchange. 97 has to do a better job compressing the pocket. He got his hips turned. Always want to be able to rush square until you have that move. But 92 right here does what he needs to do. He gets vertical low shoulders as well, right? His hips is in front of him. I need to release inside, right? I need to release inside. So now if I release inside, 99 needs to know I need to save my guy and get to that rear shoulder. It's a good example for the nose right here, talking about nose responsibilities, right? So this guy right here, good example of punching and covering, right? Being able to drive, be patient. When the guys get the quarterback to move because our ends are doing a great job, right? Ends do what they need to do. Quarterback hitches up. Quarterback hitches up. That's the interior guys to make the play. Interior guys win, they flush out. Ends do a great job getting this guy to hitch up. Now the nose and the end can make the play, right? But as a nose, you're not supposed to be moving willy-nilly. There's no east and south. It's just north. Push, push, push. Cover, cover, cover. Being able to read and anticipate what you guys are doing is very instinctual. Pay attention to Micah Parsons right here, right? Vertical low. His hips are away from me, right? I made my extension. Now I know I can shed inside right now. I know I can shed inside right now. This guy, demeanor, hey, I may be getting chipped right now. I may be getting double team. He sheds inside. Like I said, interior guys, get him to flush out, right? He goes in, he flushes out. He does a good job maintaining where he needs to be. Now everybody can be a part of that play. It takes 4. It takes 4 for the rush ops. It takes 4 for the rush ops. Good job getting him to move out. He maintaining his outside shoulder. Now he has nowhere to go. So we're gonna pay attention to this end to our right, right? Protecting that inside number. Simple. Protect the inside number. Chop down. Inside number untouched. Ripped up. Inside number untouched. Able to get to that quarterback. I played with this guy on the Giants right here, Jonathan Hankins, one of the best D linemen I've ever been around from an interior standpoint. This is what it should look like right here. Punching and covering. Punching and covering. He almost allowed himself to get too wide. Clearly he has a movement that allows him to go to the B gap. He realizes no action over there. He starts pressing inside and gets his guy to hitch up. Now he's able to be a part of that play. Right? So wanted to save some minutes, 6:47 right now. My time, Central Time. I just wanted to leave any questions, leave an opportunity for questions, but wanted to leave my socials. If you learned something today, or if you want to talk about it, whether it's one-on-one or sometime in the future, right? There goes my Instagram, there goes my Twitter, my cell phone number, and my email. Feel free to contact me anytime. Understanding that this is a brotherhood and a sisterhood. We're only as good as each other. Being able to share this information, this knowledge has been extremely blessed. I'm humble for everybody being here right now. If you do, guys, have any questions, I see the chat is jumping a little bit. Okay, Fort Valley State. All right, man. I appreciate it. Let's connect. Great job. Excellent. Excellent. I appreciate every single one of you guys. Like I said, here's my number. You guys can text me right now on the spot. Like I said, I can send you anything I got. We can talk more in depth. Thank you, Coach Jax. We can talk about everything more in depth if you want to. I have plenty of footage, plenty of drills. It's just hard to compartmentalize what you're going to do within that hour. But if you guys have any questions right now, feel free to either hit the chat or your audio or just explain your opinions on what you guys do. Oh man, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that, Coach. Is it Iffy? Asaluka? I appreciate that, man. I'm glad.
Hey, Coach Taylor,
Yo, talk to me, baby.
how you doing? Great presentation. My question, I didn't see it much in film, but what is your teaching if instead of the lineman kick slide, he jump session? Maybe I missed it. but I'm just watching from the film and just asking if now the lineman jumps at you versus getting his vertical, getting at his angle kick, what are you teaching your D lineman at that point? Because now they're on you.
Exactly. So that's where. So you've seen some of the PowerPoints earlier, and I can send that to you. It's called the power pop, right? So that's why I say everything has to start off with that bull rush or that long one, because you got to get hands on, especially as an interior lineman, because you're not gonna have your visual key is for your knee and that heel. Your visual key, that's so you get everything else is pressure key. So I like to be able to strike with my hands, create that separation, but I don't like to stay on. So I call it a power pop. So that's a quick strike, concentrated power, extending my hands up, and then being able to work inside. So we talked about shoulder reads earlier. I'm not sure if you were here for that, but that gives me the count inside. If his shoulders are square on that line of scrimmage, when I take my first step, I know I got an inside move right now, and I want to attack that inside number. So instead of me getting my hands and I'm splitting it peck to peck, I want to get my hands on that inside number opposite of the way he's sliding to, and now I want to work. Now I want to work off that inside number, shedding inside, working to move inside. That's a real good question, bro. Anything
I
else, man?
appreciate
Any
that.
other
Thank you.
questions? No doubt.
Hey, coach. What would be the best counter move for a speed rusher?
For a speed rusher, oh man, that's good. For me, I love so like I said, I'm a guy that believes in a long arm. So with that long arm comes that stab club, right? So we looked at that Micah Parson clip where he was able to stab and then release inside. You get what I'm saying? So well, speed rushing guys, you gotta understand they're not heavier. So you don't want to get speed rushing guys in a sense where they gotta always be heavy and devout within the guy. You want to teach a speed guy to play with their distance because their feet and their hands are gonna work faster than that. So if you get a speed guy to get his hands on that peck, right? Now he's going to be able to read the shoulders, right? That guy's in front of me. Now I can go underneath, right? I can get from a stab to an underneath rip, right? Or I can get to that stab to now punching and swimming across. You get what I'm saying? So I would operate off the stab club and I would operate off the swipes. The only reason I don't want to live in the swipes is because now you can get caught very often into screens. You get caught into running upfield. That's why I love to get guys to have hands on, because in this day and age, you're going to be able to protect yourself against screens and draws. And if you're just running moves, you kind of waste the body. So I would say operate through the long arm, but really a guy that's really good with his hands, start operating through that stab club. Just teach him how to get his hands. Drive for a step, work around. Drive for a step, release inside.
Appreciate it.
No doubt. Real good question. Anything else? We got 8 minutes, guys.
Coach, you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
What do you guys do full slide protections? Do you have anything pass rush game or pass rush technique that you'll use for the inside guys on a full slide? You guys get a full slide.
Oh, absolutely, man. The best thing you can do, full slide protection, is that I like to muddy the inside. I like to muddy the middle, so I like to work some type of we call it an A stunt, but I would say layman's terms would be like a nut or a ton stunt, where you get that nose of that tackle to really pick that center that slide into that side, right? Because when you get that action, right, just try to picture this, you get that center, you get the guy to pick that guy the opposite of the slide, right? Then you get the same guard to kind of follow with that guy, and then now you get a free loop from whoever that loop is, whether it's the nose or the tackle. So I like those kind of A stunts within that, and then you are at an advantage with that boundary end, because now he kind of get a free roam, or he's one-on-one with the running back, and for that field end or whoever's getting that slide too, he has to really just be able to operate and maintain that edge. So to keep it honest, I like to have the edges do what the edges do, but I like to muddy up the front by having some type of twist game with the nose and the defensive tackle. That's a really good question.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
No doubt.
Hey,
Anything
coach,
else?
I got another question.
Talk to me.
Okay, so when you got the chipper, whether it's a running back or a tight end, how do you play that? How do you like rush when you got a running back chipping you or a tight end chipping you?
Got you. So running back chipping is gonna be a little more challenging, just because now you got somebody. So when you have a running back chipper, now you're already creating space. The biggest thing for that is that you don't want, and this is what I'm talking about, We talked about it earlier in the beginning of the presentation, right? Keeping everything within your frame. We tend to pass rush. We tend to be overextended with our arms. If you're overextended with your body and you get chipped, now you're on the ground. You get what I'm saying? Especially if the running back has some type of pride in what he does. So the biggest thing with that is being able to be within your frame and have control with your hands on that guy, right? So as long as you're not overextended from your upper half and your lower half, you can fight off that chip no different from a double team. You know what I'm saying? It's no different from a combo collision on the double team, or if a guy's trying to punch you out on like a shoulder spear to get you right, right? So you're gonna be attacking the 2-to-1, you get that chip, you can use your hands as leverage, fight back and release to that same side of chip to. For the tight end, it's gonna be a little muddier, but tight ends usually don't tend to stay on that block. It's just like we seen in that clip with Cam Jordan, they're really just trying to slow you down, and you have to know, same thing like what Cam Jordan mistake is. I get chipped out. I know I just created too much space within that B gap. You know what I'm saying? So now I just have to make sure I'm getting to my proper rush lanes, and I just want to condense that pocket now. Good question. Good questions. Let's flow. Let's flow. We flowing now. Anything else?
Coach, man, I got a question for you.
Talk to me.
Look, so I'm no defensive lineman coach. I'm an old lineman coach over at Georgia State University, right?
I know that's right.
Biggest thing for me, I'm talking situational wise. Third down sets. What are the toughest sets to defeat as a D-line coach when you're trying to teach them, like, look, they set vertical, they set square, they get out of line, what's that, this, that, and the third. Tell me your teachings on third down. What is the opportunity? What is the goal? What are the steps that you teach your guys?
Man, that's a great question. So is it third and long, third and medium, or just any third down?
I'm talking 3rd and 5 plus.
3rd and 5
You said
plus.
before,
So
because you said before 3rd and 4, you thinking quick game. 3rd and 5
exactly.
plus. 3rd and 5 plus, it could be quick game, but depending on the coverage. Because like lineman, we try to look at coverage. That would kind of dictate the set too.
Exactly. So two things. I would say the most difficult thing for me. So when I get into those third and sets, that's when I really activate my games. You know, I like to put, so from a personnel standpoint, I like to really isolate the weak player, because it's always a weak player. And I don't want to say a weak
You try to
player
find
as
a
in
weak.
like, yeah, exactly. So it's always somebody on that side of the ball, the same thing on our side of the ball, that we wish we
Yeah.
had a better player than. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
I like to pick on that guy, you know, and I like to put my best player. So let's say if it's a right-handed quarterback, I want to put my best pass rusher to the field, because I want that quarterback to roll the opposite way of his throwing strength, right? The
No
next thing, the
doubt.
biggest thing for me, difficulty-wise, is when the center slides all the way back. If he gets more vertical than the guards, then any type of stunts that I do from an interior standpoint really puts me in a bad jam. You get what I'm
No
saying? Because
doubt.
I like to keep my ends honest. And like I said, depending on your personnel, I don't, I rarely play with getting my D tackles or my ends, my D tackles and my nose tackles a position where they cover on the outside. You know what I'm saying? So I like to send my ends on the inside. You know what I'm saying? So if you get a center that kicks back, it kind of muddies that front up for me. But the biggest thing for me is like I like to win in space. So what I like to do is mess up the fronts by I'll put both of my interior linemen in 2-3s, right? So we
Yeah.
call that a wide set. So I'll put these guys in 2-3s. So now hoping I'm getting the dual reset now. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
No doubt.
now I'm hoping that exactly. Now I'm hoping we get a 2-on-2 on the right and the 2-on-2 on the left, and then we operate the game off of that. You know what I'm saying? And what I do is just to put the center in a weird spot is that I may see if, depending on the coordinator is doing, I may get the linebacker to set up, right? Just so he now has to ID that man or key that man. And now I'm
No doubt.
working a move. Now I'm working something that can get my faster guys coming inside, my slower guys pretty much covering on the outside. You know what I'm
No
saying?
doubt. So here's the other thing. So like when you go wide front, that's one thing. But what I see a lot of defenses trying to do now too, trying to institute kind of that shade 5-9 look front
Yeah, that
side.
psycho alignment.
That
Yep.
load front kind of isolates either the tackle or it kind of you can run a lot of games out of that too. What type of
Exactly.
sets do you think are best for that causes you the most havoc? Is it still getting off the ball, or is it still having the guard presence on that shade while his eyes are on the 3?
No, I like that. I would say, there's one thing you have to know for sure. If you get, we call that a psycho alignment. If you get a side that's overloaded like that,
Yeah.
very rarely are they going to stay on that side. So you're getting something maybe potentially going back to the uneven side. You get what I'm saying? Or that's just bad football. So the best thing to do for me, I would 4-man slide that. You get what I'm saying? Just to cover one, to create some type of isolation from the guys. Because let's say usually if you got a 4-man slide, the biggest thing that's gonna happen is you can get that nose or that 3-tech or a backer blitzing to the side that's isolated, or you can get a guy coming off the edge and a guy blitzing to the inside. So I would 4-man slide that inside and then keep that tackle isolated, just so you can protect anything coming back to it. So now you're matching it, you know, but it'll be a soft slide, if that makes sense. So kind of like a shoe set where we're not working too much on vertical, because if you get too vertical on that, you'll naturally create a seam because guys are going to be working on different moves. You may get a power move versus a twist move, and then now you have different seams where guys can just really just kind of find a way to get underneath it. So I would 4-man slide that and leave that one-on-one with the end, and then just have them pick and pass.
No doubt. I appreciate it, Coach.
No doubt, man. Appreciate you. So yeah, it's 7 right now. I appreciate y'all time. Like I said, man, I left all my information out there. I'm gonna put my number in the chat. I appreciate you guys spending the time out here, and I would love to learn from y'all just as much, you know. So if any more O-line coaches, D-line coaches, corner coaches, man, let's try to, especially before we get going, let's try to get on the phone, let's try to get on the Zoom and continue to network, man. I appreciate y'all, man. Thanks for coming.
Great job, Coach Taylor. That was a really good presentation for sure.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you, man. Yeah, have a good one. Make sure y'all